Well, hello everyone. Welcome.
Yeah.
Hey y'all, hey.
Hey, I hope everyone is having a good week. I hope everyone is tuning in weekly. I hope everyone is liking, sharing, subscribing, hearting, making a comment, saying remarks, however you want to say it,
And
and being the light.
making sure your
Hello.
notifications is on so you don't have to be told what's popping Tuesday morning. So you here for some more transformative, truth-based, thought-provoking conversations with the city.
Amen.
So it's Tuesday. We're going to go ahead and hop into this. I hope everyone has tuned in to the last episode. It was some really good conversation in there, some things we didn't get to finish out. We don't know if we're going to finish it out. We just going to let God do what God do and be God and let him move through us. And we hope that it truly is a blessing, that it opens up your mind. It brings about a thought. To ask questions or whatever it may do.
So the devil was in the technology. I'm saying that facetiously because we started talking about perversion and what he does and in our lives, and then we cut off. So we just finna get into it. Let's go.
Let's go.
Okay.
So as y'all know, we usually start with Real on the Hill. So Real on the Hill question for Francis. I'm Pat, Professor Norris, and lowly old me. We was talking about sin, right? And what the enemy does and what we contribute to and all this. Do y'all think sin can be hereditary?
Yes,
Speak on it.
I do. Well, let me just go to the scripture. Okay. I have to go to this. This is a footnote. Now, you're going to have to read Matthew yourself, okay? Because I just want to get into the meat and potatoes. But this is a footnote from Matthew chapter 23, 29 through 12. And it reads, the scribes and the Pharisees built tombs of the prophets and decorated the graves of the righteous, piously claiming that they wouldn't have joined with their forefathers who killed the Old Testament prophets. Yet, at the same time, they were rejecting the Messiah and planning to murder him. And in truth, they were just like those who had gone before them. Sinful attitudes can be transferred through bloodlines, resulting in the same judgment experienced by one's ancestors. So, this is just the point in the final days of the earthly life of Jesus, and the Pharisees are coming at him or whatever. Jesus is challenging them and making it known that their forefathers, their ancestors killed the prophets during their day. And so essentially they're doing the same thing. But I believe that because if we look at our lives, if we look at ourselves, there are things that we do, there are things that we say, there are ways that we respond to life that we say, oh, you just like such and such, or you act just like your daddy, or you act just like your mama, or that's what your granddaddy used to do, that's what your grandmama used to do. We hear that a lot. I believe that it is ingrained into our DNA. Do I think that some of it is learned? Absolutely. But just like if we go to the garden, because of that fall, we are born into sin. So there are things that we do. Sometimes I believe we do it without even thinking. You don't have to teach somebody to lie. You ain't got to teach them none of that. It just, they'll tell a lie before they tell the truth. And sometimes the old people would say, man, it's in you and it's on you. So it's like it shows and it manifests over time, whatever it is. And I think all of us know and we can recognize some things that perhaps our mothers or our father did, or our uncle or auntie or whomever. And we know we are sitting in the same seat, so to speak, of life as they were, and we're doing it. We're repeating some behaviors, some actions, some ways of speech that happened before time. I mean, before our time, if that make any sense. That's just the light side of it.
I think we had a few episodes that we was talking about before that I had to actually apologize to my son Elijah because of certain things that he was doing, certain acts, and I had to apologize to him because we discussed about it. We discussed it before, and we thought that, you know, everything was good, but things were still happening. So I had to actually take that deep dive and kind of think about it myself and like, why you keep doing that? Why you keep doing that? And I had to think about it myself. It was like, whoa, you was doing that. You know what I'm saying? And I had to actually apologize to him and say, like, Elijah, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry that I put you in this predicament for you to do the things that you're doing. And I want you to be better. I want you to be better and not do those things, because those things is really gonna harm you over time. It may possibly affect relationships that you may have. It just will corrupt your mind. So I had to actually tell him, I take the fall for this. It ain't you, it's me. And that stuff is passed through from me being your father through you, because you are my seed. You are from me. So can it be hereditary? I think that transfers of spirits are it happens. It's kind of like, you know, if my daddy was an athlete, I'm gonna be an athlete. Or my dad was an engineer, I'm going to be an engineer. It's in your makeup. So certain stuff that we have done over time and over our years, sometimes we have to look back and say, maybe that's something that I have done to put that in you. Because sometimes we'll be like, why are they doing all this? Why are they doing? I don't know who they getting that from. Like, you got that from, that's your mama's side, that's your daddy's side. It's like, no, it's from you. You've seen it. You've done it. Sometimes we have to take the responsibility for the things that our children is doing.
So I got a question just for clarification. Obviously, whatever it is between y'all.
Yeah.
But when you say you pass it on to him, is it something that's from an adult, or is it something from your childhood? I guess my question is not like the timing, but more so, is it something that you subconsciously pass as an adult, or something that he's doing that you like, ooh, I used to do that when I was little?
Both.
Okay.
I say both. For me, it started as a child, and then over time, it just kept going into my 20s, into my 30s, and everything. And it, you know, trying to creep up, and that stuff, you got to kill that stuff sometimes. Sometimes you just got to be like, no, man, no. It was a struggle sometimes. It was a struggle. And you know, certain things I had to talk to my wife about, and I had to just let her know and everything, because as me, for my personality, I keep a lot of stuff inside. I kind of just be like, everybody know, hey, Pat, you know, fun loving, you know, cool, you know, things just roll off, but you know, cool. But it's some things that internally that I had to think about. Now I'm in my 40s. I'd be like, man, I was kind of jacked up on certain things. There's some things that I had to kind of figure out on my own, and not really having a safe place to land of somebody who I can really talk to and really kind of just like have a, not so much as a understanding, a person to understand what I've been through, but to just have a compassion for what I've done or what I've been through and stuff like that, and how I acted. So to address your question, yes, I would say like it was like when I was younger, maybe like his age or maybe a little older than that, but it led into my adulthood. And sometimes it things can corrupt your mind, and you think like, oh, this is that way. Oh, this is how everything's supposed to be. And then you be like, whoa, wait a minute. It's supposed to be this way. And then it's not. It's totally not. So I do believe things from our mothers and our fathers can transfer to us and can transfer to our children. And this is just an example, guys, okay? But if you seen like your father your father cheating on your mom on your mom, you can't inherit that same spirit and do the same thing. But that's something that, of course, God, you have to have God in you and be like, hey, man, I've seen this. I've seen this before. I cannot do this. I cannot cheat on my wife because I know this ain't God. I know that's not godly. I've seen how when it happened, the family broke up. But then we have to look at your grandparents. Did the same thing happen? Oh, yeah, it happened again. It happened with them. And I had the same conversation with my aunt a few months ago. And I was like, this happened when my grandparents did it. This happened with my aunts and my mother did. And I was like, it's got to be somebody that has to kill it right then and there. It has to be like, okay, no, we're not doing that. So
I do think that things are hereditary, especially um, a man and a woman creating a being, another human being. That's why the old people say, be careful who you connected to, because you don't know what they carrying. And you start acting all kind of ways, and you trying to figure out why you acting this way. Why I'm having this thought. Never had this thought before. I never felt like this before. I never was mean like this. I never was saying smart. Like, you really are trying to figure out why. How did you become like that? But spirits do, as that says, they do transfer. Psalms 51:5 says, surely I was sinful at birth and sinful from the time my mother conceived me. Yet you desired faithfulness even in the womb. You taught me wisdom, and in that secret place. Cleanse me, and I will be clean. Wash me, and I will be whiter than snow. Let me hear joy and gladness. Let the bones you have crushed rejoice. Hide your face from my sins and blot out all my iniquity. So we're naturally born into sin. Like Ella said, you don't have to teach a child how to lie. You don't have to teach a child how to color on the wall. You redirect children to go on the right path. That's natural, because we're born to do sinly things. So they have to be guided. So yes, things are hereditary. And like I said, especially when a woman is carrying a child, and who they're connected to during that time, it's a lot. I remember carrying Jada, and I think to be honest, Jada was probably my hardest pregnancy. It took a lot to get her here from the beginning, not just actually giving birth to her. I thought about this the other day with trying to conceive her. It was a lot. Just even getting her here with like in vitro and just different things like that. Her coming in the world the way that she came in the world took a toll on me. And so I was managing a lot at that time, but my feelings went on to my daughter, meaning she felt what I felt. And so like a lot of times me and her can look at each other and we kind of like are the same in one, because it's like, I know how you feel. I understand how you feel. And I'm sorry that you feel that way. But I do understand where you are. I do think things are hereditary. You pick up habits and you pick up spirits too, because of your environment and the people that are around you. That's why you have to be very careful with training your child up the most correct way as you can.
I'll keep it as light as possible. Something that Pat said and then you echoed of spirits transfer. I don't think people think about it like that, and I don't profess to know all about the spiritual world. That is not, God hasn't given me that insight. But what I will say, based on reading and based on just spiritual logic, if everything from the natural proceeds from the spirit, then if we say, well, when you have a seed and it takes on characteristics, traits, so on and so forth, right? We go all the way back to God in the beginning. We said, let us make man in our image. And life, physical life, the way that vegetation and all that comes from seeds. Anything that is given life comes from something else and it takes on those traits. You don't see a dog give birth to an elephant, and you don't see a wolf give birth to a shark. So if the physical is a dumbed down, for lack of a better word, rendition of what happens in the spiritual, then we have to at least give credence that spirits, they carry the hereditary traits. So if we know God is spirit and we know that the enemy operates in spirit, then there's a high likelihood that sins can be passed down. But when we start talking about habits, I think it's easy to say, yes, habits. You know, if I see somebody doing something, I'm more have a proclivity or a likelihood to do that same thing, right? There is something that I learned when I used to work in one of my other jobs in the Air Force, and we used to manage this suicide awareness briefing from the chaplain, and they talk about myths and then they talk about truths when it comes to suicide. And they said one of the truths is people who have witnessed suicide or been affected by it, there is a higher percentage that they will try that. It's not, obviously it doesn't mean that they will, but because now it's an option. That's what habits do, right? But when we start talking about things that I didn't see, but that I pick up from my parents or generations prior to my parents, that is where it gets, we have to give a little bit credence to that. So you brought up, Pat, you brought up like cheating. Anybody can cheat, but those who have been affected by it, whether they've seen it, heard it in their family, now it is an option. Not that they want to go do it, but now it's an option. The same way if somebody is I'll put me out there. The spirit of fear. I didn't teach my kids fear. Yes, there are certain habits that they pick up, but also my youngest, I can see when he tries to be a perfectionist because he doesn't want to make a mistake. I didn't teach him that. But those things that you talked about when you're conceiving, those spirits are real. Like, we got to get out of this, like there's this fantasy land. They're real. And so spirits, God, holy spirits, and Satan, evil, demonic spirits are attracted to likeness. If there is darkness, evil spirits are attracted to darkness. But light, God, light, goodness is attracted to that. There is a reason why, and we don't know it all because we not him. But when Jesus talks about cleaning out the house, and when the demon is cast out, and he says, "Fill the house." I'm paraphrasing, fill the house because it's going to come back stronger, because it's coming back to a familiar place. So yeah, this probably needs to be an episode down the road. But I agree with y'all. It can be hereditary. So if it's hereditary and spirits do transfer, we have to be mindful of what we're putting in, and to put light, no pun intended for City on the Hill, but putting light in those areas. Because when we do that, we give less room for the enemy. Pat, you talked about, or Ella, I forgot who said, talked about feeling, getting into the Word of God and rebuilding or reestablishing foundation so nothing can grow, or you minimize what can grow. Ella started with scripture, so I'll end with scripture on this Real on the Hill. Deuteronomy 5, verse 9, the second part of it says, "For I, the Lord, your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me." Satan doesn't just want you. Ella mentioned last week about he wants to disconnect us from God. But we'll be foolish and he just wants us. I want to destroy everything. The devil has a lot of tricks and schemes. And one of his biggest plays is having us think that he doesn't exist or that he's not involved. And he does that through espionage, like I'm spying, I'm there, and you don't even know I'm there. Through fraud, making it seem like, oh yeah, that was all you. That went down nowhere near there, right? Trap that he sets up in the disguise. But the enemy plays on the weaknesses of one to prey on another, in order to create an access point to affect the generations past what we see.
Yep.
So if there's a weakness in you, right? Okay, cool. Not only am I trying to take you out, I'm putting up something in the system to affect everything that comes after that. So you might deal with fear. That was my thing. But She deals with X. So now your weakness is going to give me an access to get to her, which then is going to affect y'all children. And it goes on. That is when we come into the awareness and we submit to God and say, okay, I'm aware. I don't know how to do it. Savior, can you do it? That is where the healing comes. But it starts with the awareness that, crap, there's something in this system that I can't stop.
That what's going on. It's Javar. It's 1/4 the City on the Hill. Thank you for tuning in to this episode. We got some truthful, thought-provoking, and transformative conversations going on. I just want to take time to sit here and remind y'all, or let some of y'all know, on Mondays through Fridays on our social media page, you get content that we don't put on YouTube. Instagram, if you go to His City OTH, that is HISCITYOTH. Or if you go to Facebook for City on the Hill, you'll get some exclusive things. On Monday, my wife, Fran Jones, goes over the climb. How can you climb? How can you be a better version of yourself that week? She sets the week off right. On Tuesdays, you already know what that is. We drop what we drop on YouTube, which is our podcast. On Wednesdays, Ella will come through with a life hack. Things that you can use for your life and that you can grow not only personally, but with God spiritually. On Thursdays, we got Pat talking about how to uncover purpose in your life. And then on Fridays, I end it with leadership videos. It's called Lead Up with Coach Jones, where I talk about how to use practical leadership principles to achieve God's potential in your life. So if you want to get all that, make sure that you tap into us on our Facebook and our Instagram pages. Again, Instagram, His City OTH, and on Facebook, City on the Hill. So with that said, back to the regular scheduled program.
Stop. The footholds the enemy has used that we've seen in our family. Pat, you mentioned it. And we've seen that with our kid, with my oldest. How have we dealt with that? How we have dealt with the enemy's perversion in our lives?
I think exposure is key. I think silence and not think. I've seen how silence and secrets kill. And I believe that a family that is silent on things that you know is just flooding in the family, but nobody ever talks about it. And Pat can tell you I am set and passionate about exposing a matter, exposing an issue. Because if you don't expose it, you can't deal with it. Or you'll have to deal with it, but you do it in an isolated manner because you think, oh, nobody can see this. Nobody needs to know this. So I think exposure is key. You mentioned the word awareness. Once you become aware of a thing, like we say now all the time, once you see it, you can't unsee it. That is something that should bring us to, yes, the awareness of the issue, but the awareness of our own weakness. Like, God, I can't do this by myself. This is generations of patterns and issues and things that have followed us, and now it's here. And I do believe that you can be one out of many. God is always looking for one out of many who will answer the call within this family that will say enough is enough. And one thing Pat and I agreed upon when we first decided, all right, we're going to get married. And we talked about a lot of things and we exposed a lot of things to each other. But we realized that we both had in common this, it is this heavy responsibility to make a difference in our family lines, to be the one to stop certain things, to stop certain habits. Not just today, but I had to acknowledge today, like I've been praying for a suitable husband for Mackenzie, a suitable wife for Elijah. I don't know if my parents prayed for my husband. I don't know if they did, but I said, I am not going to be a bystander when it comes to their future. I am going to pray and ask and seek God on their behalf. Before they're even in that space and time, I am going to seek God on their behalf. God, this is what I petition for, because I don't know if this was going on. And that's why we maybe perhaps had so many broken marriages, so many upsets in relationships. Let me get you involved now before they even get out there and start making choices. let's put your name on this thing because you created them. That's just one thing that I know it even feels different. And I can tell that the enemy gets upset when I pray over our children. She trying to change the patterns. I don't like that. Let me find something else. Let me find another weak spot. So you got to start examining your whole self and start exposing all your weak spots and not letting the enemy create this element of surprise for you. Like, oh, I didn't know that was a weak spot for me. Yeah, you got to find them sometimes because they lie dormant. You got to find them and expose them to God, because if you don't, he certainly will. And we act like we are so powerful just as human beings, as ourselves. We're not. And God is exclaiming to us, come to me. You need me. Come to me. I got this, because you ain't that strong. Come to me and I will help you. And so I think that exposure is a big deal when it comes to handling and overcoming certain things that you know and certain things that you don't know are flowing through your bloodline. And when you notice it, call it out. Call a family meeting and stop being afraid to tell your children, like, this is what we struggled with. This is what granddaddy struggled with. This is what your great grandma struggled with. These are things that happen. There are things I wouldn't even know that ran in my mom's side if she hadn't sat me down and said, this is what your grandmama dealt with. I think it's important for exposure.
I just think that when you don't expose it, it takes longer to heal from it. When you expose it, no matter what it is, no matter what it is, it still stings. It still hurts. But it does not take so long to heal from it. It's just like a sore. If you keep putting a Band-Aid on it, it's not going to heal. If you sit there and you put some alcohol on it with some turpentine or whatever you may want to call it, or whatever you may want to do, and let that child go back outside and run and play, in about 2-3 days, that thing gonna be healed. It's gonna have a covering over it by its own self. It's gonna heal itself. When you try to heal it with the Band-Aid and the Neosporin and all of this other stuff, it takes longer. Because you keep dabbing in it. You keep trying to, I don't want this piece right here to hurt. This piece right here hurting. So I'm going to put this right here. Nah, let it all hurt. Let it all hang out.
When you expose it, like you're saying, it calls your attention to do something. That's the part. Mm-hmm. Sorry, No,
it is like that. But, when you're in order and you are in alignment with what God is telling you to do, the enemy is gonna attack what he feel is the weakest link in that family dynamic. Okay, mama and daddy that went through that, they exposed it, they free from it. Yes, it's a consequence from it. All of these things are happening. All right, let's dangle with these children now that they know. Let me see how they feel. Because I know they love God now. But I don't know if they really, really rocking with him to really understand what type of guy he is. So let me go ahead and see. Let me go ahead and try to play these little mind games of manipulation to see how they can do it. And then that's when you have the children looking at the parents crazy and feel like they can do this and feel like they can say that. And they out of order now. So now you got to redo some more order. Okay? So it's like, all right, let's do it. And then when those mamas start praying, not saying y'all daddies don't pray, I ain't saying that. But when we see stuff and we like, okay, Lord, I know I'm praying for their future, but I'm also carrying this right here where they are right now. I see that you do have a mandate on their life. I see how the enemy trying to play tricks of the mind. I see how the enemy trying to manipulate them.
Gonna go somewhere different. But I'm gonna say this real quick. I know what you meant when mothers pray, but that is a worldly thought, not from you, but it's a worldly thought. Mother is in tune with the spirit. Father ain't. father just does all the external carrying and not the spiritual carrying. Another perversion. So when that you didn't say that. So I want to be clear. That's not what my wife was saying. What I'm saying is because it's out there, the mother is in deep prayer and fasting and all this. But where's the father? The father, generally speaking, not all. I know some great fathers, but the husband, the father, the leader of the household is still out of order because he ain't sought God. God is all about alignment, but not just with him only, it also in human order. And so, yes, y'all mothers, y'all two do great things, but it's something I believe when the father gets on his knees, when the father seeks his face, when the father sees this. The scripture says revisiting the sins of the father. Why? Because he's starting with the head, right? Mm-hmm. So there are perversions within perversions that helps, that it's like layers that we gotta climb out of. So yeah, we get out of one layer, then it's like, hold on, now we need to get on here. So I agree with Ella, like I'm all for it, sometimes to a fault of, let's expose. I would rather deal with the damage of an exposed truth than to live comfortably in the lie, because it's gonna come out. The last thing when I think about our kids, I don't want them to get to a place and they be like, nobody ever taught me that.
Right.
That bothers me. I want to show you my weaknesses as much as my strengths, because I need you to know, especially for my sons, that you ain't alone. This is normal, what you struggling with. This is normal, what you thinking. This is normal. What do I tell our oldest? Hey, don't give me that cookie cutter answer. Give me the real.
Yeah.
Because if you say, and he's fine, but like if he's like, Pops, I'm struggling. All right, let's talk about it. Because you might say something, be like, I feel you. Not only do I feel you as an adult looking at back, but I'm also saying I was there. This is what I did. This is where I messed up. So now and I know that's kind of taboo to say, like, we afraid, don't let your kids know your past and this and that. Why not? If you was out here wilding, they out here wilding in secret, and both of y'all then don't want to expose nothing. Or you see them, you be like, well, I can't say nothing because then they gonna hold it over my head. Well, I'm sorry, you shouldn't have did that in the past. Use that as an opportunity to grow.
I mean, you about took me somewhere else, because that head of the household stuff, because I'm quick to tell a teacher, talk to their daddy. I don't even say talk to their daddy. Talk to my husband, their father. I get like Trey from our Boys in the Hood. Yeah, talk to his father. Or did you think we made babies by ourselves? Because it is something to be said. They know mama gonna come to the school. Let daddy come to that school if you want to.
Okay, we gonna let y'all go. When the father shows up, their posture changes. Just shows up, and we not from broken households, but even if you are, I come from not complete household. But when the father shows up, the meters change, responses change, and I'm not just talking about people, I'm talking about in the spiritual realm, because it's there. So now, I don't care how in tune with God the Father is, let's just be practical. When he shows up, there's certain things that can't be played. Or we talked about the play, hey, I gotta redevise how I'm doing it. The enemy is watching, so he's like, oh crap, we can't keep running that play. I'm sorry,
So then I gotta put enmity between them two because they always rocking with each other. Yeah, we see it all the time.
Oh yeah.
It was one situation, we had a meeting, and because we always show up together, one of the teachers, she sent us the roster that you have to sign in on. She sent me a copy of it, and I noticed that his name wasn't on it, and I was like, hold up. I emailed her back. I said, I noticed that my husband's name is not, his signature is not here, as if he wasn't present in the meeting. I said, and I want to note that he's always in attendance at these meetings. And it's like you have to emphasize that there is an authority. I think that that's what happens when the husband shows up. There's an authority placed on the family at that point. Like you said, the mama is always going to show up. That's what they expect, right? She's, for the most part, not always, for the most part, the mother will show up. But when the father shows up, like when Pat comes to the games, when Pat shows up to the meetings, there is an authority, there's a stamp placed on that family, like they're protected. I see it. Everything changes when we show up with the authority figure. It's different. So I absolutely agree, which is why even that my mom and dad weren't together, it was still different when daddy showed up to the meetings. And even when they agreed, like we might not be getting along right now, but for the sake of these children, for the sake of the family that we started together, we need to walk in as a united front.
Yeah.
And now that was deeply embedded into me. So it is not one time where even with something as simple as permission slips, Patrick and Eleanor's, because it's not just saying, I think some people mistake that for like a mechanism of boasting. It's not. My household is covered. There is an authority here and there's an order here that is respected in this house and it's going to be respected outside of this house.
I'm glad that you said that because, you know, even when you go to fill out the forms for the kids, I noticed a lot of times it will have mom, job, mom, telephone number, and then father.
It's always
He go
last.
first.
It's always
Yep.
wrong.
And
He
so
always
what I
first.
started doing, it would say mother. I would scratch father and then let him do what he needed to do. And then let me do what I need to do. Because that's the
Yep.
order that it's going to go in.
Correct.
That's just the order that it's going to go in. You have to ask him.
I want to hit on something real quick. Covering. You said something when I left on deployment, or before. You was like, I feel like my covering was going. And we was at y'all house. I remember. And I'm like, wow, you know, like God is there, and I'm trying to encourage her by what the truth is, but I'm missing what she's saying because I'm focused on God is with us and he designed this, and which he did. He got to go do what you got to do. But now, or as went through it, I can see the importance of covering because that does prevent a lot of perversion.
Wow.
And I think that's what we're getting at. When there is proper covenant, it doesn't stop everything, but what it does is the enemy playbook has to change. And not just the enemy. We just talked about spirits transferring. The teacher's gonna respond different when they see a man there. The coach is gonna respond different when they see she ain't there. I ain't finna just come holler at her this way because she got a dude right there, right? Let's just be real.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No.
Kids respond differently.
Yep.
You know, I coached a team, and they, well, not this one, but you know how it was. And they talk with her, they joke with her, and I come, nah, we ain't joking like that. Even though y'all ain't saying nothing different, I don't need you to think. Because I've been a boy. I got eyes too when I was a boy. Ain't that your mama? Nah, she ain't no single mama. Nah, bro. So I'm using lighthearted stuff to emphasize when there is order and there is alignment, and then we go to the highest, and when God is there, when we walk in with the Father's finger in our hand and I got him with me, the enemy has to respond differently. So we have to make sure, in my opinion, we have to make sure that we are carrying light, but also being aware that we have to obey the order, the structure, and all this.
I mean, it could be perversion, but we can give him things to make perverted because we're not aligned with Christ. Some things are preventable if you do what you're supposed to be doing. Some things are unpreventable, even if you are doing what you're supposed to be doing. But the things that you can prevent from happening, it is your duty to prevent those things from happening and to follow through. That is the reason why you're doing the things that matter and doing the things that you are supposed to do. So when the unannounced come, it ain't as bad. And you know how to respond.
And kind of piggyback on what all of y'all are saying, I have to admit myself, being married for 17 years, it took me a while to really understand my place in for my place in my family and understand my role for that. It's been a lot of great things. Don't get me wrong, it's been a lot of great things, but it is a lot of things that I did falter on. I did drop the ball on. And I had to actually say, like, man, God, what is my role in this? And like, I can remember, and I hope I can be transparent. I think we said this before. It's something about threes. It's something about every 3 years we go through something that's just like, this is it. I'm out of here. Our third year was hard because it was a lot of things was happening. And this was like when my mother passed. It was a lot of stuff that was going on, a lot of things that was changing. We was trying to buy, like, we was moving from a house to from an apartment to our house. We was staying with my mother-in-law for a few months and trying to get our house, and finally got our house, and just trying to understand what me and Ella, like, what was our roles in our house and what was our roles that we going to play. And for me, like, not really seeing what the role really was. And this is not a diss to my father, but it was some things that he missed, like he lacked, that was not shown when I was growing up, and some things that I had to a lot, like I said before, I had to figure out on my own. But over time, doing some things different, being able to really, like, when I say really protect her spiritually, protect her emotionally, making sure that, like, she dealing with stuff that I shut it down, like, right then and there. That took a while for me to really get to that place, because I'm not that type of person personally. I'm not. I hate conflict, but I don't play about Ella. I don't play about my family. I don't play about my God. So going through that perversion thing, making sure that God within me, that's in me, do not revert back to things that I did before, when I was a kid, when I was in my early 20s. That did not make sense. I'm 41, about to be 42 in June. So going back to that same stuff, it won't help me. It won't help my family. And just to continuing to get in the word, like every Sunday we do breakfast and Bible study, and we knew some things was going on within our family. We had to really get our house in order. Spiritually, we had to really get our house in order. So every Sunday, we've been doing this for what, almost a year? Mm-hmm. Almost a year. Every Sunday, if we can, let's get up, let's get in this word, let's hear a sermon, and let's talk about it. Finding my place in my family, finding the leadership in there. It's noticeable within my children. It's not just like, we talking about God again. No, they actually are being into the conversation. They say what they have to say. We talk about it. We give them different angles, a different way of thinking. They letting us know about some things that they going on. I was like, oh man, that's new. And it's interesting to really get into that stuff and being able to be like, oh man, that was real good. They're really getting something out of this. Being able to worship at our house, and everybody is affected by it. Not just us being affected, but it's trickling down to our daughter and our son and even our niece. Making sure that we are stayed in this work, in the word, and making sure that we are really saturating ourselves in this thing, to make sure that we are taking off and not slowing down anytime soon.
Like you said, especially with the kids, like having them conversations with them about what's going on in their world. Like, I hear so much from Jada, I be like, oh girl, what? And then they be laughing at us because we don't know something. And I be like, Jada, I don't know what you're talking about. And then when you hear them speak about God, and then you like, oh, it's working. Okay. All right. To see where they are and how they do things. It is one thing to see your child at a certain stage in her life and not just, growing up, but like you actually see her walk and you can see it. And it's like this little girl she not a little girl, but she really be toting this Bible to school,
It's good.
and with no fear
It's good. That's good.
and bold with it.
She is bold. And I'll be honest, there was a period where I was envious of that because I'm like, it's just so free to you in my head. And there was this anger that would come, not at her, it just was like, you ain't have to work for nothing. And I'm over here putting in 39 years, last 10 really trying to seek God, and you just make it seem like and her personality when she's in tune with God, it's just like, okay. And even the voice would annoy me. I'm just being real. I'm being 100% honest. I haven't shared this with anybody. And God has showed me that was where the enemy was lurking with me. Because why would you be upset that your daughter is freely walking with me? Like there is a cost that has to happen before she does it. Even though she's been through some stuff, we all know. But there was a spirit of envy in me because it was so free to you. It's so easy for you. I bring that up because one of the 7 deadly sins is envy.
Mm-hmm.
And when we start looking at the 7 deadly sins, it's out of control perversion. The 7 deadly sins as listed are lust, gluttony, pride, sloth, wrath, greed, and envy. What aspect of your life, we all deal with the 7 deadly sins to an extent, but which one has been the hardest for you when it comes to being perverted by?
Pride, hands down. I was just talking to Pat today. I think struggle in any type of capacity, if that is a part of your story where everything seems to be hard fought, everything is just like oppressing. Like that's how I have felt much of my life, even much of my adult life. Just everything is hard fought. Nothing comes easy. But with that, when you feel like you have had to just strive and pull at every little thing, it makes you very self-sufficient. And it makes you feel like, well, I don't have to ask for help. I don't need nobody help because I done went through the hard stuff. And so I don't need to ask. I've always had to figure it out. I've always had to discover the answers for myself. And I find that showing up, and it show up in the smallest ways, and sometimes it's in big ways. I had to learn how to reduce that prideful nature as a wife, because now you're in a relationship. You are in a covenant binding relationship where you have to rest on this person and you have to have a reliance and a confidence in them. And that's not something that is comfortable for me. Even something as small as, I was joking with him, but it does make me reflect. But I was saying, because I was raised by a mother and a father who made us look for answers, like asking just to be asking all willy-nilly. Nah, go seek. And then if you can't figure it out, come to me for some guidance. I did that with the children when it comes to their homework. I pushed them to be very, very self-sufficient in terms of find out, go look. Don't come to me before you go and look. And in some ways, that's good. But in other ways, it builds pride in a sense of, I got this. I did this. And it takes God to show you you. I always say that. Like, he will show you yourself and show you just how weak you are and just how in need you are of his strength. And he lets you know you didn't do nothing without my hand on your entire life. Even the strength that you think is just, it's just who I am. No, that was my gift to you so that you can make it through those tough times. And so I think that I struggle, and I don't profess to be somebody who has perfected. Like Fran said earlier, it is a constant, like, you got to pray this thing every day. You got to work at this every day. And I can understand why some people give up the fight. It feels like, if it's going to be this hard, I might as well just stay the way I am. If I got to wrestle like this to get better, I might as well just stay broken. But when we press towards God and we show him, like, I will fight to get to you because I don't like the condition I'm in. The condition I'm in is causing so much distance between myself and other people. Just like the woman with the issue of blood, she was like outcast. She couldn't really do nothing, but she knew, if I can just get to the one, all will be well. And I feel like with me and my struggle with pride, it's like, if I can just get to you today, if I can just get to you in this moment where I'm feeling like I got this, and I get to you and you show me you got this, I'm good. So I think for me, it's definitely, hands down, it's pride.
I can be very lazy, not in the point of go to work. I can do that. I can do that. Lazy in the way of I see things and I ignore it, or it'll get so bad that all of a sudden now you want to do it. If I would have got it then, right then and there, it would have been, the results could have been different. It's things that that Ella needed from me, especially when we first in the beginning of our marriage, and even later on in our marriage, that I just ignored. Sometimes I did ignore her needs, that what she needed from me. And I can admit that, being married for 17 years, some things I'm just like, man, you just fussing. No, she needed certain things from me that would make our relationship even better. Even some things with our kids, with our children, that I'm just like, okay, I see it right then there. I see it. All right. That snowball started getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Now you want to do something? I told you about it when it was just small. And I can get very lazy at doing things that I need to do and I have to do. I just all of a sudden I say, I dropped the ball, I apologize. But sometimes you keep doing the same stuff over and over again. It's like, it'll be like, all right. And then people just don't believe you anymore because they know what your actions is. So I can admit, and I have to really fight that thing too. I can admit, like, it's slothfulness. It's like being very lazy, knowing that I see something and not getting to it when I have to do it. That was hard for me to admit,
No, I appreciate it.
but I had to do it.
I appreciate it. Both of y'all.
Oh, I feel like I'm a little bit of all of them.
Which we all are, but so you don't have to pick.
But honestly, if I could really be honest, it would be lust and wrath. Wrath, because I used to always say this thing about an alter ego, Fran versus Francis. I never wanted my husband to see me upset, because there are things in my past, in my environment, that created me to be where I can be a mean person. Because younger, I wasn't a fighter, but I was always standing up for someone. I was always defending someone. And no one was defending me, and no one was covering me in a lot of spaces. And that turned over into my adult years, where I felt like I didn't have, and I said, I didn't have a choice when I was younger. I got a choice now. So you come, what will, what may, we can go. He had seen me in some instances where he kind of, and I can see it in his eyes, where he like, wait a minute, like, I don't even know who you are. And I know I have said probably things to him that he probably will be like, dang, just hit me in the face. You said that? Like, where'd that come from? Like, I mean, mean stuff. I used to think that I'm gonna go, you gonna go low, I'm gonna go lower. We gonna limbo and I'm gonna win because I'm gonna do a back bend. And I was ready because a certain period of my life, I was mean. I would just say things because I was tired of things happening. And so no one redirected me to respond and verbalize those feelings. And I come from a long line of strong women, especially on my mom's side. So the mouth, come on. At a certain point though, it's like you about to diminish everything in front of you and you don't even see it. You tearing stuff up left and right. And you're not even going back to apologize. You ain't going back to say, dang, I was wrong. You're always trying to you're always trying to validate what you said. I could say it. They said that to me, so I had the right to. They said it to me. I got the right to say what I got to say. So I'm just supposed to sit here and not say nothing. And so now I have to work very hard with that. And so when things transpire and I feel like it's a slap in the face, or I feel like somebody really like just digging at me, I'm like, I feel like on the inside, what somebody probably who doesn't deal with that feel like, okay, one more thing. And that's gonna be it. And it's very hard, like you said, Ella, when you dealing with that kind of stuff and you can see what somebody say, okay, I don't want to do this no more. If somebody got to talk to me any kind of way and I got to keep not saying nothing and I'm not doing it. You're going to get what you get. But then when I started really having that relationship with Christ, and I'm like, my words going to send me to hell if I keep it up. Because it may be a point in time where I don't have enough time to repent. So for instance, if you don't slow your behind down and think before you speak, or not speak, because everything doesn't deserve a response, you may not have enough time to say, Lord, forgive me, before he come and get your behind. When it convicted me like that, now I be like, you got it. I'm going to walk away. You got it. Lord, remove whatever thought that's about to come in my head, because I don't have that much self-control to say, control my tongue. And that's just being real. I'm going to walk away from you. But I also have to ask God, whatever thought that's about to come, I need you to remove it. Because I know it ain't of you. Because if you don't remove it, I am going to say something that is very ugly and is very hurtful. Like, I used to want to just say stuff that I know gonna hurt you. Like, I used to be that kind of person. I know this gonna hurt you, so I'm gonna go on ahead and say it. And I think about some of those thoughts that I used to have, y'all, that wrath thing is something else. Like, I remember saying somebody made me so upset. I said, if I seen them on the side of the highway burning, I wouldn't even give them no water. I roll right past you.
Yeah.
That's me. That's hurtful. That's spiteful.
Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell.
I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that side, because it's still there. It's still there. It's just dormant, and it has to be. You have to keep your foot on that neck, because if you don't, it's gonna rise up just like a king cobra sitting there. It's gonna rise right on up, and you're gonna lose all control.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when you lose control and you dealing with wrath, I'm telling you, it is not good. You blank out. It's not good. You have to say, God, not calm it, remove it. I don't even want it.
Yep.
I remember when Ella, not to cut you off, I'm sorry, friend, but I remember it was a situation. I got so mad that Ella it took Ella just to get me out of a trance. But it just, just overtake you. And it will be like, you do something, and then all of a sudden you be like, what did I just do? I don't remember what I did to either harm this person or harm or something happening or snap. It's just you keep pushing that button, about to explode.
You said the key word self-control, though.
Yeah, you gotta have self control.
Yeah.
And lust also. I know most women don't admit to doing that. That's y'all.
Mm-hmm.
I seen it growing up. I seen certain things, and I had to go back, and then I start remembering because I was always a child that was around grown people all the time. So I seen a lot of stuff that I probably
Yeah.
shouldn't been seeing. Sat in a lot of conversations where I shouldn't even been sitting in, and that's a daily fight because you kind of in some of these things. Sometimes when those sins come up, it's like, where did it come from?
Okay.
Where, and then you start remembering stuff that happened.
There is a combat to that. We talked about awareness, but before I get to that, I want to read what's before that, the way we can vector check and guard against those things. But in Galatians 5 chapter, I'm gonna start with 16. I'm gonna go back. It says, so I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh, for the flesh desires what is contrary to the Spirit, capital S Spirit, and the Spirit what is contrary to the flesh. They are in conflict with each other, so that you are not to do whatever you want. But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. Verse 19 says, the acts of the flesh are obvious: sexual immorality, impurity, debauchery, idolatry and witchcraft, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissensions, factions, and envy, drunkenness, orgies, and the like. I warn you, as I did before, that those who live like this will not inherit the kingdom of God. So before we get to the next part, a lot of people skip over that. Everything we read, and he says the like. So this ain't even the complete list. But the things of this nature falls into the sinful nature, which falls into those 7 deadly sins. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. Don't have time for the whole Bible study, but there is a law which requires a punishment, which requires justice for those who live according to the flesh. For those who live according to the Spirit, there is no law, which means you are in freedom. But if we literally went back to the fruit of the Spirit, as we call it, and then we juxtapose them to the 7 deadly sins, for everything there is a counter. For those with lust, self-control. For those with wrath, there is patience. For those with pride, there is humility. Peace, there is kindness, there is goodness. There is, what is the other word for forbearance? Long-suffering.
Long-suffering.
There's long-suffering for those who maybe are greedy. And I just got to have, well, no, I'm finna place myself in a position of I'm okay. For those who are slothful, there is faithfulness. I'm going to stay faithful to the mission. And we don't have time, but if you want to examine yourself, Ella talked about the enemy watching us. But we got to be watchful of him, and we got to be watchful of self. Watchful of your heart, exactly. There's a thing called film study in sports. These ain't highlights. This is where are we in the whole game? What did I do right? What did I do wrong? Where am I off? This is why coach is saying it, but now I see what he's saying. But I want to end with this because it was something that was said last week, and it was profound. Ella said, we don't know our power because we're constantly plugged into the world. 3 things real quick. What we are in awe of is what we see. So if the world has us enamored and there's this pull towards it and we are in awe of it, we gonna seek those things. King Josiah was one who rediscovered through his prophets and his priests the law. And when he came across it, he was like, whoa, we ain't been doing these. We ain't been doing this. So all these generations of kings before him have just perpetuated sin. And it says one king was worse than a king before, and they just perpetuated. But they had lost sight of what they were told to do, which is to keep this law in front of you and keep it in your heart. If it's not in front of you, it ain't gonna get in your heart. It had got lost, but when he came across it, he said, we haven't been following this. Make a mandate to destroy all the idols, all the Asherah poles, all these things that are distracting us, that we are in awe of. Because people were seeking idols and all these things for pleasure, for comfort, for guidance, like you talked about last week, seeking for what the world tells us. And we start seeking those things. But if we adjust and realize those things lead to death, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And he wants nothing but to disconnect you from God, which has you in sin, which leads you to death because of the punishment that is to follow. So what we are in awe of, if we have this reverence and honor and awe of God, even if we don't understand it,
Right.
we seek it, and it becomes I just want more. I just want more of you. Explain to me, talk to me, teach me, show me. Our hearts start to change. And I unveiled this to y'all, but God showed me that we start wanting too much of things that we don't need. And when we start seeing what the world has to offer, it seems like a lot. So I want more of that. But we so accustomed to saying that this is what you deserve. This is what you can afford. This is what you do. It's the mindset that God is now calling. Do you need that? What you consume, do you need that? You're seeking pleasure, you don't see that because you're seeking, I need more of this. I deserve this. But we have gotten fat off of things that aren't of God, and we have become slow, lazy, and susceptible. So a lot of people are weak because they have allowed themselves to get fat off the things that are not of God. And I'm going to say this.
And
I had to write it. We know people who are plugged into the world and they have become weak. And it gets harder to get out of danger or stuck in a bad situation because it's too painful, it's too dissatisfying, and too complicated to disconnect. There are some of y'all out here who will listen to this. Hopefully it reaches your ears that you know what the right thing is. You've allowed the enemy to fool you to say, I don't need that. But you don't want to go back and seek God because why? It's fun out here, or it's too restrictive over there, or I'm already out here anyway, so whatever. And we allow the enemy to keep feeding us, and feeding us. And we're consuming debauchery, we're consuming idolatry, we're consuming sexual immorality, we're consuming tolerating stuff that we should not tolerate. And we have made excuses. So you're not only have you been tempted with perversion, but you have taken on the personality of perversion. And you say that this is either okay or I'm too lost and I don't know the pathway back. We titled it Plans, Paths, and Perversion. God has a plan. We defined that last week for every single person in every single generation. But there is a path that must be walked. And if you're not aware of your perversion, God will show it to you if you seek him. But if you are aware, you are putting yourself in a position of where you are now at the extreme where there is no return.
Yeah.
There's a difference between evil and wicked. Wickedness is my heart is set on doing those things. But this is a plea for you to stop, turn. It ain't too late. It's not too late to recognize the perversion. It is not too late to say, I'm not eating that no more. I don't know where my next meal is coming from, but God is sufficient enough to show you, you don't need that. That's what fasting does. It recalibrates you and shows you what I do need and what I don't need. So it ain't even to be highly spiritual. It's just to get to the point to understand the perversion is ultimately leading you away from God. And your seed, and those that you are in connection with will suffer until you say, there is a better path. And I don't know how to get on it, but I need you, God. I need the people that I know who can help me get there, because outside of perversion is freedom. And you will be free if you continue to choose that path and walk it.
For those of us, and when I say us, all those who hear this and believe in the power of God, even if you don't, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge when you see people around you changing, when you see them doing away with certain things, take a moment and ask God, like we said before, I think, Vars, you just said it, like, ask God to show you yourself. Ask him to show you what you need to change, because in this culture, in this society, we jump to judge people when they start to shift and they start to take things off, especially if they're saying, God told me, or my relationship with God cannot withstand this act or this thing any longer. We go and we judge people and we will tear them apart when they're on a path to connect with the one who made them. And so I say this as a warning and as a nudging. Stay away from judging people for the changes that they're making, for the path that they're walking, and ask God to show you so that you can do what Fran always say, mind the business that pays you. We can apply that spiritually. Mind what God is telling you to mind, and pray for what you don't understand. Pray for them that they will be girded up in such a way where they can stay on the straight and narrow path. And even if that's not something you understand, even if you're questioning it, it's not your right. Just pray and show as much grace as possible. But please, I beg you, don't get in the way of the work that God is doing in somebody else's life. I had to say that, because in this culture, we are so quick to try to demand somebody to be wicked, be evil, be unrighteous. You want to celebrate it. But if somebody is saying, no, I can't, then leave them alone. And you ask God to show you and pray for them as they go along their way. If that's what you do, if prayer is what you do, you pray for them that they will be led and continue to go on that path. But do not, please do not. That's a warning. Don't get in their way. And don't discourage them. Leave them alone. That's all.
And if you love them, you will leave it alone. If you say you love that person and they're changing for the good and they're walking with Christ, don't ask them to do things that they're telling you they're not doing. Do not promote them. Do not push them. And don't even ask them why when they give you their answer. Because sometimes it's just none of your business. And they just can't do that thing anymore.
I respect that. It's not to be harmed, not to be mean. They just going in a different path. Respect that. Maybe that path. Maybe you see that path and be like, you know what they got going on, and maybe that'll encourage you to follow the same path.
With that said, we good?
We good.
All right. Well, appreciate y'all for tuning in to another episode of City on the Hill. Plans, paths, and perversion. Let's walk the straight and narrow and be the light.
Be the light, y'all.